Tonight on TV5 News at 8.
I'm Mark Espadakis. Get the latest details on the protesters at the World Trade Organization conference coming up next.
Good evening. I'm TV5's Jen Bevino. What weather lies ahead? Will we see more snow in the upcoming weekend? I'll have your complete weather watch forecast coming up. Plus, was there a winner in the $73 million jackpot? Find out coming up. I'm Carolyn Kelly, and join me tonight on Entertainment Beat as we take a look at this week's calendar of events.
And tonight's big story, a fire destroys a Reimersburg home. Find out the details later in regional news.
I'm Nani Lemborn. Stay tuned to TV5 News, where I'll be giving you the distance of movie review. Join us for these stories and more.
Coming up next as TV5 News at 8 brings coverage closer to home. Good evening and welcome to TV5 News at 8. I'm Dave Marsh.
And I'm Christy Herman. Mark Despotakis joins us live from the TV5 newsroom with tonight's top story concerning the latest details and the protests of the World Trade Organization meetings taking place in Seattle. Mark?
Thanks, Dave and Christy. Well, following up on the story from last night, there are some new developments today. Protests did continue today, but the Seattle police tried to curb those protests. And we're going to give you a little bit of update on that and a little bit more of my interview yesterday with two Pennsylvania representatives attending the talks. It's tonight's top story. Been dubbed the battle in Seattle by some major news organizations. And based on some of the pictures that we have seen, it does look like a battle zone. But after a state of emergency was declared and a curfew set, protesters still marched last night and today. Seattle police say that there have been over 200 arrests of protesters, but the WTO meetings are set to continue. Seattle police have set a 50-block perimeter around the Seattle Meeting Center and are arresting protesters. Another big development is that President Clinton has arrived in Seattle to address the WTO. But here's a look at what some of the Pennsylvania delegates of the WTO had to say about the United States agenda and specifically President Clinton's agenda for the WTO meeting.
The U.S. Trade Representative has a very good agenda for what they want to be the final negotiating issues in this next round of trade talks. And one of the priorities is agricultural issues. And as you know, Lehigh Valley farmers have been suffering tremendously from a drought, but also from a glut of agricultural commodities that have driven prices down. One of the priority items on this agenda is to reduce foreign subsidies to their agricultural products, lower barriers, and provide greater opportunity for Lehigh Valley farmers, as well as other farmers, of course, to sell products overseas.
The Clinton administration has laid out an effective agenda for the WTO ministerial. They have come in with a limited set of objectives, particularly focusing on agricultural trade, opening up markets for American manufacturers. Those ideas are sound ones, and they have stuck to them. We have been resisting the efforts of the Europeans to broaden the agenda to the point that it won't lead to an effective ministerial.
Now, talks actually did get underway today, so they were actually doing some work. Talks are scheduled to continue through the rest of the week. Seattle, and police protection is very high. In fact, today, as President Clinton was leaving the motorcade, they were surrounding that with a National Guard and troops like that, just to take the extra precautions, so there is no repeat of what happened yesterday. Live in the newsroom, I'm Mark Espadakis. Back to you, Dave and Christy.
Thanks, Mark. A $73 million jackpot for the Super 6 in the Pennsylvania lottery. There's no word yet if there was a winner. Here are the numbers in case you missed them. 5, 9, 32, 33, 43, and 66. Richard Blows of McKeesport has been charged with 2 counts each of aggravated assault, simple assault, and recklessly endangering another person. The incident occurred during this year's Clarion Autumn Leaf Festival outside of the Alpha Chi Rho fraternity house. Michael Tempest, a witness at a hearing held on Tuesday, testified that 3 shots were fired on October 2nd. Tempest testified that he went outside to settle a dispute when a gun was pointed at him. There is no evidence that Blouse was trying to cause bodily harm to other students at the scene.
A Reimersburg couple lost most of their belongings after a fire destroyed their Madison Township home. The fire occurred just 3 days after the celebration honoring their 50th wedding anniversary. Winfred Lois Murphy discovered the blaze at around 4 a.m. on Tuesday. The couple was able to escape the 2-story wood-framed home, but their pet dog and cat were unable to be saved. Firefighters reported that the fire broke out near a wood burner. 18-year-old David Penwell was convicted 2 months ago on charges stemming from the 1998 March crime spree. The teen is now sentenced to serve life in prison with no chance for parole for the murder of Frank Makovich. Penwell will also be expected to pay over $3,000 in fines for the lost wages and mileage. Makowich's daughter, Rhea Fish, made these requests. Penwell will have to perform work-related duties to pay off the debts. The punishments also called for 4 to 10 years for the robbery committed in Silvery before the shooting occurred.
A Reimersburg man has been charged after he allegedly forced another person to lie about a criminal case involving rape. Richard J. Carl Sr. has been charged with intimidating a witness or victim, obstructing the administration of law or other government function, obstructing or impeding the administration of justice, harassment by communication or address, criminal solicitation, and making terroristic threats. Authorities reported that Carl forced Kenneth Kreibel to write a fictitious letter concerning the arrest of Charles Zelfrau on charges of rape. A 19-year-old East Brady man waived his right to a preliminary hearing Tuesday on charges he had a sexual relationship with a 14-year-old girl for nearly a year. Donald R. Wyant is being charged with aggravated indecent assault, statutory sexual assault, indecent assault, and corruption of minors. Wyant stated to officials that he had engaged in sexual intercourse with the girl. The alleged encounters have been taking place since December of 1998. The young girl and her mother reported matters to the police.
A Wisconsin truck driver is facing charges in a case of road rage on Interstate 80 in Beaver Township. Michael L. Bowser of Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, is accused of intentionally driving a semi into a pickup truck twice. He is charged with recklessly endangering another person, disorderly conduct, reckless driving, and failure to drive in a single lane of traffic. Keith Shepard of Pittsburgh was the driver of the pickup truck. He had been on his way to Bear Camp when the Bowser semi cut him off near exit 5 or 6. He was then forced to drive on the berm. When Shepard tried to confront the other driver, he rammed the rear of his vehicle. Residents in Franklin area are wondering what is happening to the Shop and Save in their town. The shelves have barely been stocked recently, and the produce and the deli have little to nothing left in their cases. Owner Scott Barefoot would not comment on the store. Some vendors refuse to bill the store, and they are only accepting cash. The corporate parent of Shop and Save is SuperValue. Rita Simmer, spokesperson for SuperValue, said that as primary supplier of the store, our intention is to keep the store open. It has been speculated that many of the year-end inventories could be responsible for the empty shelves.
Targets, a discount retailer, advertised locally for positions in a store in Cranberry. The only problem is the Cranberry they were advertising for is in Cranberry Township, Butler County, not Venango County. The other store is located about an hour and 15 minutes south of Venango County. Target explained that the advertisements are a mistake and there were some miscommunications within the ad department.
Oil City Council met today at City Hall to discuss the 2000-year budget. The spending bill unveiled last week featured a $1.9 million increase in real estate taxes. The tax increase would be the first for Oil City in 7 years. 2 more readings of the proposed budget must be approved before it becomes a law. If the budget is passed as written, the average Oil City property owner will see about $15 annual increase in real estate taxes. Coming up after the break, a teenager is convicted in the death of a 6-year-old girl, and another problem with underagers using false identification to get into bars.
Plus, a cemetery could face problems after a woman's body is discovered missing. And we'll take a look at headlines from tomorrow's edition of the Clarion News. All this and more as TV5 News brings coverage closer to home.
Young children cannot stand on their own. Uniting parents and children is an important part of the life of a community. Stand for Children encourages personal commitment to stand for the health of children. 300,000 Americans marched in Washington, D.C. last June to support Stand for Children Day. Stand for Children seeks to lift the belief that children need our help to stand.
It's a birthday. I'm the mayor. It's a birthday.
Exercised lately?
For a mouthful, go for the fun. Go for cake. Cakes for everyone. Just one stack is what it takes. And it's gopher cakes. Open wide, stuff your face. There's always room for more gopher cakes. Empty the box, then reload. Eat those gopher cakes till you explode.
Exercised lately?
Till you explode.
Sad. Looking back now, the things you go through in life. Scary. The worst thing about being on welfare was what I wanted. I had to get a better life for my girls and myself. I got off welfare. I got a good job. Makes me the happiest mother in the world. I live for my girls.
We're not asking you to hire everyone on welfare, just one.
This is TV5 News at 8, anchored by Christy Herman. Dave Marsh. Jen Bevavino with TV5 Weather. Dawn Ursich with sports. Now from the news team bringing coverage closer to home, this is TV5 News.
And welcome back to TV5 News. If you haven't had an opportunity to look at the latest edition of the Clarion Call, here's what you've been missing. There will be no tuition increase for the rest of the year. The Post-Gazette editor addresses students, and a student to lecture at Harvard University. These stories and more can be found in the most recent edition of the Clarion Call. And taking a look at the headlines from tomorrow's edition of the Clarion News today, Minnick bars access to old jail planning session. Is your dog Y2K compliant? And the Department of Environmental Protection moves its reclamation bid process behind closed doors. These stories and more can be found in tomorrow's edition of the Clarion News.
The family of a middle school teacher in Pennsylvania who was shot and killed by a 14-year-old boy at the school dance is suing the boy's parents. The suit says that they failed to control their child and allowed to access a handgun. The estate of John Gillette, a science teacher at a middle school in Edinburgh, is going after the parents of Andrew Wurst and their landscaping business. Wurst pleaded guilty back in September to third-degree murder and other charges and is now serving 30 to 60 years.
A teenager convicted in the July death of a 6-year-old girl in a car crash must serve probation for 3 years and perform 500 hours of community service. 16-year-old Adam Michael Baker of New Enterprise admitted in October that he was driving his family's farm truck across the highway's double yellow line on State Route 869 in July when he hit a pickup truck driven by 36-year-old Robert Replogle of Martinsburg. Replogle, who is a dairy farmer, was left disabled and now has to walk with a cane. Baker was convicted of reckless driving, careless driving, and driving without a license. He was 15 years old at the time, and he was sentenced yesterday.
A lawyer for a Pittsburgh brokerage firm says that while it attested to the integrity of the transactions when John Gardner Black handled investments for 50 school districts, it should not be held responsible for millions of dollars lost in risky investments. Dennis Dice of Philadelphia asked a Blair County judge yesterday to dismiss a lawsuit filed by the district against the Heffron-Tilston brokerage firm. Richard Feinberg, who represents the districts in Pennsylvania, says that the firm knew something was wrong and should have reported concerns to some agencies, such as the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. Prosecutors say that the school districts around the state lost nearly $70 million of investments. Judge Hiram Carpenter didn't say when he would rule on Dice's request.
Two young men who tried to pass themselves off as 20-year-old twins with the same name at an Indiana bar learned it isn't too easy to fool people used to fake identification cards. James Snyder, who owns the Coney Island restaurant in Indiana, says he's very used to 20-somethings from IUP trying to get into the eatery and bar. A man claiming to be Ryan Douglas Murtha from North Carolina walked in and said he was 21 years old. Another man came in right after him and gave the same name, age, and state of origin. It turned out that one of the Ryans was indeed 21, but the other, carrying an expired driver's license, was actually a younger brother, 19-year-old Richard Murtha. Police charged Ryan Murtha with lying to present a minor as a 21-year-old, and Michael Murtha was charged with carrying a false ID. Amtrak marks the start today of construction on the world's largest electric power frequency converter for railroad use. The $140 million facility will help power new high-speed trains between New York and Washington, D.C. Amtrak executives and state and local officials grabbed shovels to break ground earlier today at the site in an industrial area near the rail lines along the Delaware River in northeastern Philadelphia. This will give Amtrak additional capacity to power its trains between New York and Washington, including 20 new high-speed trains. Also drawing on the power will be commuter lines in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Maryland.
Fayette County commissioners have frozen spending through the year because they say that the county controller has all but disappeared from the job and finances are a mess. Commissioner Sean Cavana says the controller Gerald Berkovitz has lost his re-election bid in the May primary. He says Berkovitz is essentially absent without leave. Cavana says officials don't have a handle on just how much money Fayette County has to last throughout the end of 1999, so commissioners are allowing spending only for emergency situations. Two sisters scrimped and saved for nearly 20 years to buy a tombstone for their mother's grave, only to find out that it was empty. One of the sisters, 64-year-old Esther Henderson, says that she was devastated when she learned that the body of her mother, Dora Luker, of New Florence, wasn't in the cemetery plot she bought last year before she died in 1979. Henderson said that the family didn't have enough money for a tombstone in 1979, so she started saving. When they finally got the money, she says the family notified Fort Palmer Cemetery near Bolivar and that they were ready to buy the tombstone and place it at Leiker's grave, but his sonar device indicated that the body was not there. Edward Spendle, who buried Luca in 1979, says that the cemetery lost the grave before.
Francis Law is wanted by the police, but that's nothing new for them or him. He was being taken to court to face escape charges when he escaped again. Police in Washington, Pennsylvania say Law was awaiting a preliminary hearing when he told officers he had to use the restroom. According to police, a friend of his had stashed a pair of bolt cutters in the bathroom, which Law used to cut off his leg shackles. He then tore off his orange prison shirt and made a run for it. Police have arrested 3 of his friends and charged them with aiding in the escapee's escape. Police say Law has escaped from them twice before. And coming up after the break, families who lost loved ones in an Italian cable car tragedy will be receiving a financial settlement. And the search continues in Mexico for the bodies of victims of a powerful drug cartel.
Also, we will have tonight's installment of The Health Beat, and John Bevavino will be joining us with the latest area Clarion forecast. All this and more as TV5 News brings coverage closer to home.
Introducing new frequent phone hours.
Use the phone just 8 hours a week and get this free phone cradle. Use it 12 hours and get a speakerphone.
Use it 15 hours and get this cool headset.
Or stay on the phone 20 hours a week
and get a pasty complexion,
flabby body, and a great new nickname at school.
Exercised lately?
I want all my friends to be there. I want my mother to be there. My hair's gonna be done so beautiful. A lot of music, a nice blue dress. I want to be beautiful for every single person that goes there. If I get shot, I want to have a nice funeral.
Every day, 10 children are killed by gunfire. Help stop the violence. Call 1-800-WE-PREVENT for free information. Not one more lost life. Not one more grieving family. Not one more.
It's not just about making plans. It's about making a difference. And taking an interest, not just earning it. More than investing. It's about knowing you.
My every hope, my life, my world, it all begins with a dream.
Edward Jones, investing in you and your dreams.
In Clarion, see Gary Martin, located on Main Street. Phone 226-7896.
Welcome back to TV5 News. Taking a look at national headlines. Families who lost loved ones in last year's Italian cable car tragedy will each get up to $2 million in damages. This is part of a law passed in the Italian Senate. 20 people were killed when a U.S. Marine jet clipped the cable car line, sending the gondola plunging to the ground. Under a NATO convention, the host country pays 25% of the damages, while the country responsible for the accident pays the remaining 75%.
The search continues today for more bodies in New Mexico across the border from El Paso, Texas. Both American and Mexican authorities are taking part in the search near Ciudad Juarez for possible victims of a powerful drug cartel. An FBI informant indicates that as many as 100 victims could be buried on a number of ranches. The Mexican authorities, says Attorney General, says that more remains, clothing, and shoes have been found at one location, including a skull, some bones, some fragments, and boots. He says that the remains will undergo DNA and other analyses by both U.S. and Mexico.
Disabled shoppers are taking the Miami-based Burdine's department store chain to court. They claim the chain crams its stores so full of merchandise that disabled people can't get around. Retired Miami Attorney General Edward Resnick is one of the 4 disabled shoppers who have filed a class action suit in federal court. He says the aisles are often as narrow as 12 inches and his wheelchair needs 32 inches. This week's lawsuit against Burdine's follows a recent successful action against Macy's, which is also owned by Federated Department Stores of Cincinnati. Resnick says other chains may also face similar lawsuits since, in his own words, Burdine's is far from the worst offender.
In tonight's Health Beat, valley fever fungus lives in the regions of the Southwest and is a fungal infection. It thrives in the semi-arid regions of the southwestern United States and parts of Mexico. People can inhale the airborne spores, yet the majority of people that inhale the spores never become sick. Most do not even know that they have encountered the valley fever fungus. A small amount of people develop flu-like symptoms. They have a fever, muscle pain, and sometimes night sweats or a cough. Pneumonia can be a serious manifestation of the disease, although this is rare. Tonight's Health Beat is not intended to replace consultation with your physician. Jen Bevavino joins us now from the new TV5 Weather Center with a look at your local forecast. Jen?
And welcome to Clarion's new TV5 Weather Center. We'll be taking a look at Clarion's current and extended weather conditions. Taking a look back to today's conditions, you did notice that it was a bit overcast. We did see some clouds, although during certain periods of the day we did see that sun shining through those clouds, melting those snowy patches on the roads and on the grass. Although I hate to mention it to you, we won't see any more snow, although we will be seeing some rain showers later throughout the week. Viewing our satellite imagery map now, you will notice cloud conditions to the western portion of the state. This leading to overcast conditions. We will be seeing its effects in the form of rain showers later into the week. Taking a look at our frontals map now, you will notice that we are encased in the middle of a high pressure zone, thus leading to temperatures rising higher than they have been. Although temperatures will stay into the lower to mid-30s region, we will be seeing temperatures rise throughout the rest of the week, although we will be seeing a bit of a decline around Saturday and Sunday of this weekend. Taking a look at our highs map for today, you will notice that we were high into the lower 30s region, and once again these temperatures will rise, but not too much. They will remain along these same lines. Taking a look at our lows map now, for tomorrow our lows will be in the mid-teens to low 20s region, so do keep this in mind, so bundle up if you are planning on going outside. Taking a look at our precipitation map now, you will notice that in the state of Pennsylvania we were clear of precipitation today, though keeping in mind that we will be seeing the effects of precipitation later on throughout the rest of the week in the form of rain showers. Taking a look at our 5-day planner now, you will notice for Thursday it will be partly cloudy with a high of 45, a low of 17. For Friday, rain showers with a high of 55, a low of 31. For Saturday, rain showers once again with a high of 53 and a low of 39. For Sunday, rain showers with a high of 49 and a low of 37. And for Monday, rain showers once again with a high of 47 and a low of 29. And those are Clarion's current and extended weather conditions. Back to you, Dave and Christy.
Thanks, Jen. Coming up after the break, an Arizona man faces charges for devising yet another use for duct tape. And we'll have tonight's edition of Sports in 2 minutes with two special guest anchors.
Plus, Carolyn Kelly and Nani Lombard will bring us the details from the entertainment world, as well as a look at the Clarion calendar of events for the upcoming week. All this and more as TV5 News brings coverage closer to home.
Getting out from the crowd is easy when you stop in at Fashion Bug, located in the Clarion Mall. Whether you're looking for junior trendy, girls, or fashion for women, they have it all with many different styles. With our newly expanded shoe and accessory department, you're surely to find that special touch to enhance that new outfit. And if you have a fashion question, our experts are here to help. That's Fashion Bug, located in the Clarion Mall, just off exit 9 of Interstate 80. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. till 9 p.m. Sunday from noon till 5.
Have all the children gone, long time passing.
Every day, 10 children are killed by gunfire. You can help stop the violence. Call 1-800-WE-PREVENT. Not one more lost life or grieving family. Not one more.
Gone to graveyards one by one. Oh, when will we ever learn?
News travels fast. That's why you need the speed and accuracy of a news team that brings coverage closer to home. Every Tuesday and Wednesday night, join TV5 News for Clarion's only live local newscast on television at 8. Tune in for the latest in regional, state, and national news. Plus, with our newspaper exchange partner, the Clarion News, teaming up to bring coverage closer to home every Tuesday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Clarion's only live local newscast on television at 8 is here on TV5.
Season's greetings to you from all of us here at Feedback. Don't spend too much or eat too much in the coming months. Enjoy the holiday season and don't forget to tune in to Feedback, same time and same place next February. Once again, happy holidays.
Welcome back to TV5 News. Our Don Ursich is on the injured reserve tonight, so Chrissy and I are going to be standing in. Not as if we don't have enough to do around here, Donnie. But anyway, taking a look at the world of sports, Pittsburgh goalie Tom Barrasso may be back on the ice after missing a number of games due to a nagging knee injury. But the health report for the Penguins isn't completely rosy. Defenseman Yuri Slager is still out. Doctors say, though, that Slager's injured left knee doesn't look like it should keep him out much longer. But in the good news column, Penguin center Jaromir Jagr leads all players in fan balloting for the NHL All-Star Game. The league's leading scorer has over 95,000 votes. And in college football, the Southeastern Conference has suspended the officiating crew that missed a crucial call in last weekend's Georgia Tech football game. The suspension means that the crew will not be officiating the SEC title game despite being rated as the best crew in the conference. Some of the officials will lose their postseason assignments. Also in college action, Bob Sutton has been at West Point for 16 years, and he says that there's no greater thrill in coaching than the Army-Navy game. The annual battle between the service academies will be played the 100th time this Saturday in Philadelphia.
In NFL action, career third-stringer turned starter Jim Miller won't play any more football this season. The NFL has suspended the Chicago starting quarterback 4 games for steroid use. Miller started the last 3 games for the Bears following injuries to Shane Matthews and Cade McNown. He then earned the starting spot by averaging 327 passing yards per game during that span. At a news conference today, Miller expressed disappointment and said he honestly made a mistake. He said that he took the over-the-counter nutritional supplement in September and he didn't realize that it contained the steroid nandrolone. And finally, in track and field, the 1999 Jesse Owens Memorial Award goes to sprinters Maurice Green and Inger Miller. They will be presented tonight at the USA Track and Field Convention in Los Angeles. Green earned the awards for the outstanding U.S. male track and field athlete with a marvelous season in which he set a world record in the 100 meters and swept both the 100 and 200 at the World Championships. Miller won 5 100-meter races, including the final at the USA Championships. She took a silver in the 100 and in the gold at the 200 at the World Outdoor Championships.
And that's tonight's edition of Sports in 2 Minutes. Don't worry, Don, I think your job's safe for another week. But now turning to tonight's final story. An Arizona man has a new use for duct tape, assuring his wife shows up for court. Police in Phoenix say Robert Horton wrapped his wife Belinda in duct tape and brought her to the county courthouse. He told deputies, "Here she is." Well, authorities say he was concerned about losing his $1,700 in bail money if she didn't show up. Mrs. Horton faced a hearing on charges of aggravated assault. But now Mr. Horton could face troubles of his own. Officers took pictures of Mrs. Horton all taped up, including tape across her mouth, for use as possible evidence against her husband. Authorities say she was plenty mad. I guess the new slogan for duct tape should be 1,002 uses. What do you think? Well, anyway, Nani Lombard joins us now with tonight's Distinta Movie Theater review. Nani?
Good evening. This week I'm going to be talking about The Bachelor and Sleepy Hollow. The Bachelor is a story about Jimmy Shannon, played by Chris O'Donnell. Jimmy has lived most of his life as a bachelor and fears what many men fear: commitment and marriage. After all of his friends get married, he finally half-heartedly proposes to his girlfriend of 3 years, Anne, played by Renee Zellweger. Apparently, he doesn't look like he's 100% sure, and Anne refuses. To make matters worse, Jimmy's grandfather dies and leaves Jimmy $100 million on the condition that Jimmy is married by 6 p.m. on his 30th birthday, which conveniently is the next day. Jimmy then spends the rest of the movie trying to find a bride. This movie has some funny jokes in it, but I really didn't like the predictability. You know throughout the entire movie that he will marry Anne, and it'll probably be 1 minute before 6 p.m. on his birthday. This movie is definitely not for guys, and for females, I think it'll appeal to married women more than anyone. I also saw Sleepy Hollow, a retelling of Washington Irving's classic tale. Johnny Depp plays Ichabod Crane, who must go into the little town of Sleepy Hollow to solve several decapitation murders. He falls in love with Christina Van Tassel, played by Christina Ricci, who is the daughter of one of the town's upper class. A headless horseman rides into town each night, killing members of the town. Crane must figure out who controls the will of the Headless Horseman before his life or that of his love becomes the next victim. I'm not the biggest fan of horror films, but director Tim Burton presented this film in a way that was humorous. It was more of a mockery of the tale than a slasher movie. Burton made the decapitation scenes amusing by purposely giving them an unrealistic quality. I thought that Johnny Depp was excellent. He added more humor non-verbally through his facial expressions than through his lines. I recommend this movie to anyone because it has it all: horror, love, and comedy. That's all for this week. For the Distinta Movie Review, I'm Nani Lombard.
Good evening and welcome to Entertainment Beat, where we will take a look at this week's calendar of events. On Friday, December 3rd, the IHC will be having the Christmas Semi-Formal at the Holiday Inn beginning at 7 p.m. Tickets are available from your hall representative at $8 a person. Also on Friday, the Wind Ensemble concert will be in the Marwick Boyd Auditorium at 8:15 p.m. Saturday, December 4th, is the start of Hanukkah. And Michelle Keach is featured in the studio recital in Hart Chapel Theater at 7:30 p.m. On Sunday, December 5th, there will be an orchestra concert in the auditorium beginning at 3:15 p.m. The Bloodmobile will be visiting Clarion on Monday, December 6th. They will be set up in the Gemmel Multipurpose Room from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., so stop by and donate some blood. Also, on Monday, the Percussion Ensemble concert will be in the Marwick Boyd Auditorium at 8 p.m. And finally, on Tuesday, December 7th, Watterson Carthy and Simple Gifts will be performing in Hart Chapel Theater at 7 p.m. That's all for this week. See you next time on the Entertainment Beat. I'm Carolyn Kelly, TV5 News.
Thanks, Carolyn. Jen Bevavino joins us now with one final look at your Clarion area forecast. Jen?
Taking a glance back to Clarion's current and extended weather conditions, you will notice for Thursday it will be partly cloudy with a high of 45 and a low of 17. For Friday, rain showers expected with a high of 55 and a low of 31. For Saturday, rain showers once again with a high of 53 and a low of 39. And those are Clarion's current and extended weather conditions. Back to you, Dave and Christy.
Thanks, Jen. That about does it for tonight's broadcast. Be sure to tune in Tuesday at 8 p.m. as TV5 News brings you continued coverage of local, state, and national news. I'm Christy Herman.
For the entire TV5 News team, I'm Dave Marsh. Good night.